Hi, my name's Alan Southgate. And this is the first of a series of videos that I'm doing instead of coming to work directly with you, doing music workshops, learning all about jazz, essentially, or at least a bit of an introduction to it. I gather you've already received the pack that I made, giving a little bit of a history of jazz and that kind of thing. I'll go over a little bit of that again. This first video is just going to really be an introduction. There'll be an opportunity for you to do a little bit of singing, but most of the activity is going to happen in videos 2, 3 and onwards. I'll say a bit about myself first. I've been a musician for, oh my goodness, for about 35 years now. No, that's not right. 25 years. I'm not that old. Still a long time though. And I'm currently a songwriter. My principal instrument is the guitar. I'll talk a little bit about this specific guitar. It's kind of a jazz guitar really in a little while. Although I'm very, very interested in jazz, I wouldn't really call myself a jazz musician. It's something that I study, and the reason that I study it is because I consider jazz to be like, it's in a way it's similar to classical music. It's like classical pop, and I'm really interested in writing pop songs. And so studying jazz for me gives me lots of techniques and ideas that I can use in my pop songwriting, and I think it's studying jazz specifically on the guitar as well is great to really push my guitar playing. So I've been playing guitar for 25 years, writing songs just as long. I've been in lots of different bands. I sing as well. The songs that I write I actually perform, and I sing and play them on my guitar. I record my songs and release them on the internet, and I'll probably put some links to some of my stuff if you're interested in hearing it at some point. Is there anything else I can think of? Oh yes, I've been a teacher for the last, almost 20 years. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Wow, it was about the year 2000 I started teaching. So I've done a lot of group workshops with lots of different types of people from all different walks of life. I teach one-to-one guitar and songwriting and music technology and singing and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about jazz. Let's go over some of the stuff I talked about in the handout. Jazz. As I said in the pack, it's seen as the only really original art form that has come out of America. It started off as America's always been quite a cultural melting pot. Unfortunately, a lot of that cultural influence that led to jazz came as a result of West Africans being taken as slaves. They took their musical forms over into the plantations, and so much of that West African music is essentially like the blues. I might talk in a later video about the blues and look at what makes the blues, because that's kind of relevant. But the West African music came over, kind of turned into blues, and it also fused in New Orleans with European music like French music, marching band music, classical music, and that kind of thing, and became the early forms of jazz, the New Orleans jazz and the ragtime and what have you. And from there it developed in all sorts of different ways. It's still developing even as we speak. There's a really thriving jazz music scene in Norwich, which is where I come from. Jazz is all about the swing rhythm, which we'll certainly look at. Now, I tried to illustrate that in the printed material. Whether or not I succeeded, I don't know, but hopefully we can go through some of that when we do activities together on these videos. And please, at any point, I'd love to hear any feedback that you have. I'm sure that Leah and other people from Creative Arts East will get any of your questions or feedback back to me. I'll be more than happy to respond. So yeah, jazz is about the swing rhythm. It's about some quite complex and interesting harmony. All harmony means, in case you don't know, is when you have more than one note played together at any time. So you can have, where's my plectrum? Maybe I don't have one. I mean, you can have melody. So that'd be melody, just single notes happening. But then you can also have harmony, which is when you play what's a chord underneath. Something like that. That's 4 notes stacked up on over one another. So in jazz, there's some quite complicated and interesting harmony. There's the idea of blue notes, which are notes that sound. They in a way they shouldn't really belong, but they sound quite nice. Like something like this. You've got that note there, which should sound quite nasty. But then when it resolves to this chord, it sounds really nice. So that's a good example of a blue note. That one in particular. And there's also a lot of improvisation. So there's a lot of fairly standard tunes, chord progressions, and then over the top there's all sorts of interesting technical ways of expressing yourself and playing over the top, but particularly if you're play a horn like a saxophone or a trumpet, something like that. You get a lot of jazz guitar players that use the guitar as a solo instrument as well, and piano. I mean, pianos and guitars, they provide the harmony, they provide the chords, but of course you can also you can improvise solos on them as well. So yeah, and now let's talk a little bit specifically about this guitar. So this is called a semi-acoustic guitar. You can see it's the design of it. It's a little bit like a violin. There's got the instead of a round hole in the middle, you've got these like F-shaped holes like a violin, and the bridge is similar to a violin in a way, because if I took these strings off, this bridge would just fall off, which is what would happen if you took the strings off a violin as well. Sometimes these guitars are called arch tops, because I don't know if you can see, there's a sort of the top of the guitar is kind of moulded and it's got this nice kind of arch to it. Originally, these were just purely acoustic guitars, but this one, as I think I said a moment ago, is an electroacoustic guitar. So which essentially means it's an acoustic guitar with electric components added onto it. So I mean, it's not plugged in. There's a socket here for a lead, and I could plug that into an amplifier, but I'm not plugging it in at the moment. You can obviously hear it. It's perfectly loud. It functions as an acoustic guitar, but it sounds really nice if you plug it in. And this metal block here you can think of that a bit like a microphone that sits underneath the strings, and it's got magnets in it that detect the vibration of the strings and convert that into electric current. I don't really understand exactly how that works, but that's essentially all I need to know as a player. And yeah, there's you'll often see these guitars played in jazz quartets and trios and stuff like that. There's maybe I'll send some other stuff out with some pictures of some jazz guitarists playing instruments rather like this. And I said, you know, I'm a kind of jazz enthusiast and a student of jazz, but not really a performer of jazz. But this sort of guitar and the kind of playing that I'm doing and incorporating into the music that I make, this guitar really suits it. I really like it. Okay, so I've got all the posh recording gear out now, and I'm going to sing a song called Fly Me to the Moon, which is a very, very popular and well-known jazz standard. I'm going to sing one version, and then I'll do another version which is just guitar that you can sing over the top. You can listen through to my version or any other version that you already might have in your home and learn the words with your sheet that came in the pack and have a go at singing along with my instrumental version, which will follow this one. Oh, and I'm probably going to have a go at doing some improvisation at some point halfway through. 1, 2. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me play forevermore. You're the one I long for, the one I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Fill my heart with song and let me play forevermore. You're the one I long for, the one I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Okay, this is the last thing on video number 1. So I'm going to play through the song Fly Me to the Moon again, but just leave space for you to sing it. The song comes in straight away. So this is your note. Fly me to the moon. So it goes like that. And you might get lost somewhere in the middle. So I might well see if I can edit in some text to let you know where we are. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I hope you've enjoyed this first video. In the next one, we'll be doing a lot more practical stuff, doing some rhythm, some improvisation stuff. So see you then. Thanks for watching.